Did you have any important childhood experiences? Like, did anything important?
Anything important? Well, I can think of a lot of things that were important at the time, but developed polio.
You developed polio?
Poliomyelitis, which is
scary?
an infection of the central nervous system.
Wait, no, that should be for the second question. Because my second question was, did anything shocking happen when you were little? Or in your childhood?
Scary. Well, a lot of people died with it, but I was fortunate enough to live with only a few of the effects of it. It causes paralysis of muscles. Some people develop weakness of their breathing muscles, so they can't breathe, and they end up on a respirator. I didn't have that kind of polio. But anyway, I was very ill. I had to go to a hospital, a specialty hospital, which was called Dooley Hospital. And it is the entrance to it, I think, is the only thing remaining. I think it's still there between the Egyptian building and the assembly building at Medical College of Virginia.
Polio.
Polio.
Dang it, so close.
And Medical College of Virginia is where your grandfather and your father went to medical school, Will. Did you know that?
No. Was there anything else that happened? Like, how cool is it?
I was hit by a car and spent a month in the hospital. And I almost died again. So.
Where were you? Where were you born? Where were you born?
Where was I born?
Yeah.
I was born in Cambridge, Virginia. Kenbridge.
BRIDGE.
In 1928.
Okay. Who was your best friend?
My best friend. Well, at what stage of life? Early on, next door playmate was named Charles. And in school, my best friend was a boy named Troy.
Were you through like any wars or anything?
Any awards?
Wars.
Awards.
What? Did you get any awards? Like
awards. Well, I got some more awards for academic achievement. And in college and in medical school.
Do you know what wars you were through?
Okay, say again.
Wars?
Wars? Like
Vietnam War. Vietnam War.
Well, yes, I can tell you something interesting. When I was 14 years old, I had a cold and I couldn't go to church on Sunday. My parents went to church and I was at home listening to the radio. We didn't have television then. This was before television was invented. Listening to the radio, and there was an announcement. The Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor.
So
Pearl Harbor, 1941, December 7th. And that was a date that the United States entered the next day or so, entered World War II, which was a very important war in our history. The United States was involved with two major wars at the same time.
What year was World War I?
One in Europe against Germany, and the other against Japan in the Pacific.
So what were they called?
Pardon me?
What were they called?
It was both called World War II.
Oh.
World War II.
What year was World War I?
Hmm?
What year was World War I?
What year was it?
Yeah.
1941.
How about World War One?
World War One? I wasn't born then. My daddy was a sailor in the Navy in World War One.
It was like 1907 or something like that, wasn't it?
1917.
17.
That was another war with Germany.
And what was that one called?
That was World War One.
World War One.
And then World War II followed in the 1940s, early 1940s.
Okay.
World War II began December 1941 and ended in 1945.
The war to end all wars.
The ending of the Pacific conflict in World War II ended very shortly after 2 atomic bombs were dropped by the United States on Japan. It devastated 2 cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Japanese were not giving up, even though the United States were bombing Tokyo, the capital of Japan, with bombs that decimated Tokyo. Well, the Japanese were not giving up until 2 atomic bombs were dropped, which was that was decided by President Truman, because President Roosevelt had died during his 4th term of presidency, and the Vice President, Mr. Harry Truman, became president, and he made that very important decision, which was one of the most important decisions in modern time, whether to drop an atomic bomb or not, because it had never been done before. But it saved thousands and thousands of Japanese and American lives by ending the war. The next war was in 1950s, and that was the Korean War, which officially ended on January 30, 1955.
You spell Korean C-O-R-E-A-N.
Capital K-O-R-E-A-N.
Technically never ended. We're in an armistice.
Exactly right. It never ended. We're still at war.
Really?
Well,
It's kind of a pause.
That's correct. That's correct. We're still have not ever officially ended Korean War with North Korea. I went into the Air Force January the 29th of 1955, a day before the war was ended by, I guess, a an agreement to stop the active warfare, but it was never officially ended.
Right.
That's true.
Yes.
3 or 4 years before I was, but he died when he was born. So I didn't have any brothers or sisters. And I had a puppy. My puppy was hit by a truck and died. So I never had any other dogs until I was grown.
How old was he? How old was he?
I was probably 6 years old when my little dog was hit by a car. But I had cats. A cat would come up to the back door and I would feed the cat. And time or two, you're feeding the cat. It's your cat. So he would stay there a while. I named him Davy. D-A-V-Y. Davy. And when Davy got hit by a car, and a few days later, another cat. They were both about the color of your shirt, yellow. And he was Davy number 2. So I built him a dog. Well, I built a cat house, sort of like a dog house, for the cat to sleep in. Put his name on it, Davy. And then Davy number 2 came along, and Davy number 2 on his house. And he was staying there too.
What happened? He got hit by a truck? Did he get hit by a truck?
I'm not sure what happened to that one. I think he was in a cat fight for one thing. And he was pretty badly torn up.
He was in a cat fight.
He survived, treated him and bandaged his legs, and he got well.
Did you have any other pets?
Another pet. Well, when I was a resident, years and years later, a lady gave me a collie puppy named Lassie. And Lassie grew up to be a beautiful dog. Collies are trained to herd sheep. And that's their nature. So Lassie would take care of your Aunt Cindy and your Uncle Billy and Aunt Carolyn. In fact, Lassie saved Billy's life because I got up one morning and I had to go to the hospital in a hurry, and Lassie was behind my car and it wouldn't move. So I had to get out of the car and go and look, and Billy had gotten up. He was just a little boy, and he was sitting right behind the rear wheel playing. So I got him out of the car and put him back in the house.
So she saved his life. She saved his life by going behind the car.
She saved his life. She wouldn't move from behind the car.
Yeah.
There was a television show called Lassie. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Lassie. It was a collie.
Was it about a dog?
Yeah, it was about a dog that saved people's life.
Oh my
And your Aunt Carolyn, when she was a little girl, she was about 4 or 5 years old. She went around and was wandering away from home and disappeared. We couldn't find her. So I was looking all over, looking through the woods and looking at a lake, which was not far from where our home was. And finally I was looking up behind the Catholic school. You know where it is?
St. John's.
This was on a Friday evening, Friday afternoon. School was closed at that time, and all the children had gone home. So there was Lassie standing beside one of the classroom doors, just sitting there, and I called Carolyn's name, and she answered. She was inside the schoolroom. She would have been there all weekend until Monday. Lassie found her.
How long was she there?
She was probably 4 years old.
A few hours.
So
She was locked in there.
Good.
So they had to call the nun to get the nun to open it back up. Nuns, like Catholic
Yeah.
nuns, they run the school.
And
Wait,
teachers and some of the nuns teach. And,
So she wandered off into school.
yeah.
Yeah, and your dog. So your dog got your attention or something?
Barking.
Barking. How long did you have lessons?
Oh gosh. She was probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7, 8 years old.
How'd she die?
She had heartworms. Ever heard of heartworms?
Yeah.
These worms grow and fill up the inside of the dog's heart. And so she was good. So she had trouble running. She couldn't. She would get short of breath and have to stop, puffing for breath. And so the veterinarian treated her, and it killed a bunch of their worms in there. They came out and hit her in the lungs, and she died suddenly.